Disclaimer, trigger warning. The We Are One podcast aims to shed light on the abuse experience within the Independent Fundamental Baptist Church. The stories shared are from survivors who bravely recount their personal experiences. It is important to note that unless an abuser has been convicted in a court of law, they are presumed innocent until proven guilty. The podcast does not serve as a legal judgment, but rather is a platform for survivors to share their truth. Welcome to the We Are One podcast. Let's jump right into today's episode. Here's your hosts, Olivia and Jennifer.
Welcome back to the We Are One podcast. I'm your host, Olivia.
And Jen.
And we're really excited for this next speaker to come on and speak about her experience at the Rebekah Home, or as a lot of people know, the Lester Roloff Home for troubled teen girls.
Of Lester Roloff's Rebekah Home for Girls, an institution she compares with a correction center.
Hello, Barbara.
Hi, how are you today?
Hi, Barbara. We're doing great. How are you?
Fine.
Yeah, we're really excited to hear your story, your experience, and let you share wanting to bring awareness of these, homes. And so we admire that your bravery and stuff like that, because I know it's really hard to relive.
Yes, and I appreciate you having me too.
Yeah. So could you briefly introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit of your background, like how you got into the IFB. And
I was a Rebekah girl, and I got sent there in '76. But my mom, one day, there was a knock at the door. It was just normal childhood at that time. Like any other kid. That knock on the door, they invited my mom to church. My mom went to church, she got saved, and my life flipped upside down. I mean, because all of a sudden, no pants, no makeup, no rock TV, no rock and roll. So, church Monday with Sunday, Wednesday, the same ILP teachings. But I was, at that time, I was an abused child. So it was my safe zone. Sunday school was my safe zone. I mean, every Sunday, I knew I was going to be safe for that little bit of time, and I loved it. I love Sunday school. I was on the Bible contest. I traveled around. I studied the Bible, and I thought, I wanted to be that good Christian wife one day, that good Christian girl. And I so when my abuse at home started going more intense, about 10, I started staying all night, at a friend's house. I noticed their life was nothing like my life. And so I reached to my pastor and I told him how I was getting abused and stuff, and it went straight downhill. The worst mistake I ever made was reaching out for help. Worst mistake I ever made in my life.
You born and raised?
I was raised in Corbin, Kentucky, but my mom moved to Illinois, so I was in Kankakee, Illinois. Baptist Temple was the church. We first started off at Faith Baptist. Then my mom moved to Baptist Temple. My mom became the secretary of the church. My biological sister, still today is the secretary of the church. And my brother-in-law is the youth pastor, just like normal. His daughter also, went to Jack Isles and married a youth pastor too. They just, they're still in the same belief system, and I'm the black sheep. I thought I was safe, and I was not safe, and I ended up becoming a ward of the state. DCFS came and removed me. It took about 2 years. I mean, and in that process, I walked to the police station. I went to AC schooling, so I went to my teacher, and I reached to all the right people. I'm getting hurt. I was never a bad kid. Everybody wants to call us bad kids that went to Rebekah. Most of us were abused children or unwanted children. Very few Rebekah girls were bad kids.
It is in these most unusual homes that we work with some of the most difficult people in the world.
They look on the video, you'll see we're little kids, 12 and 13. I mean, they call us, oh God, I hate to hear it. I see it all the time too. Dope fiends from hippie highs, fraternal cases nobody wants. Just think being told that as a kid every day of your life growing up, from 11, 12 to 16 years old, that you were no good, that you're just a scum of the earth, and that just broke us down even more. And Lester Roloff was very good at doing that. He paraded us around, and he made us take these testimonies. And I will say, yes, we did. We got there and we sang and we smiled and we gave our testimony. But if we didn't, nobody knew the consequences behind that. And the consequences was not worth what was going to happen to us. So all them little testimonies, and you see us happy and singing, just know we wasn't happy in our heart.
And they're learning something so important here. They're learning what it's like to be a lady.
Since we're crowded for time, I'd like to say that this little girl was run over by a train, and the train never did know it.
And before I came here, he gave me about 23 shock treatments, and I was addicted to all kinds of drugs. And since I've been here, the Lord's given me the victory and the love and the joy.
So you were singled out among your siblings to go to the Rebekah home.
Yes, to give me up or my stepfather. We couldn't be in the same home because there was abuse occurred, physical and sexual abuse.
And that wasn't going on with your siblings?
Apparently not, no. They were a lot younger than me. I was not his. My mom had me before, so I was older. I still don't speak to them today. I never got my relationship back with my biological family over this.
Okay.
So I became a ward of the state. I was in 33 foster homes, 2 group homes, 1 state home, to the mental institution, to juvenile detention for placement. And while I was in juvenile detention, I went from a judge and my mom and I probably can't mention names because I got in trouble for that. A guy from my mom's church also came to court, and they said they had a good Christian school for me to go to, and I was accepted. And at first I thought, yes, I'm going to be safe. You know, I'm going to have my own clothes, my own bed, you know, no more getting hurt, because being in the foster care system, the abuse never stopped. The abuse never stopped. So I thought I was going to be safe. Well, at 12 years old, I was almost 13. They put me in handcuffs, an orange jumpsuit. I went to O'Hare Airport in Chicago. I call it the walk of shame. I just thought, God, what are these people thinking about me? You know, I'm in shackles and cuffs, and I'm getting on a plane. I was humiliated in that walk as a child. And I got off at Corpus, and an old lady, Miss Fraley, picked me up, and took me to Corpus Christi, Texas. I was a ward of the state of Illinois, and I was called a ship kid. I was considered a throwaway child that nobody wanted, so they could ship me to other states. Now, a foster care state kids, you get a state check. And a throwaway kid, you get a federal check and a state check. So that's another myth that people think that Lester Roloff did not take no state money or no. Let me tell you, he took my money and took my checks for 3.5 years. So he took state money.
So he wasn't just getting money from the state, from the federal government, but he was also getting all these love gift donations from churches that had taken on that ministry.
Yeah, millions.
Wow.
Millions upon millions. Down there was a building, and it had rows of dust. One floor, just rows. Then there was upstairs rows of dust, and mainly the old women from the farm. I call Lester Roloff the farm. So that's what Rebekah, because there was a big farm. When I say the farm, that's what I'm referring to. So the compound. So that would be their job to sit there, and they would open the envelopes. They would put cash in one pile, checks in one pile, money orders in one pile, gold, diamonds, and stuff like that was sent in one pile, property deeds, boat titles, car titles, stuff like that in another pile. And it never ended. Never ended.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. So can you explain for our well-being and also for the listeners, can you go over how when you got off the airport and being there at the Rebekah home, what did it look like? Do you remember the feelings that you were having,
Oh God, I was so happy, you guys. I was in the car, and there was 2 older ladies, and they were telling me it was a farm. We was gonna have a good time, and we go to church, and I already love the Bible, and it was on the Bible contest and stuff. So I'm thinking, yes, this is gonna be great, right? And it was kind of a drive. Then when I got there, first thing I seen was the guard shack, because there's a guard shack. I'm thinking, why do we need a guard shack for, right? I mean, this is a Christian school, a church. Why is there guards? Then I seen a barbed wire fence with razor, the 3 rows of razor. I'm like, oh my God. Then I started getting scared, and I'm thinking, okay, Barb, don't panic. And stuff. And when I went in, it was beautiful. It was built. I went there in '76, so it's still all brand new. Beautiful. They had a long hallway. You see the piano, see the dorm. And I heard click, 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 3 deadbolts. And I knew right then my heart sunk. I knew that it was going to be all bad right then. What we had on the farm, we didn't have like nothing from no meat, no sugar, nothing. It was all health. He's a health food nut.
Fresh grown food. Our vegetables are grown here on the farm, and we don't season highly with any kind of grease. What we season with is mostly margarine or butter.
So it's all health food, and we worked them hot fields, and we had 6 other homes too, so we had to maintain.
We like to, when we plan a meal and a menu, we try to plan it around the calories and the right.
Boys had to fish 24/7. They didn't get no break. 2-hour shift.
Night fishing is an experience for the boys 6 nights a week. Spin reels are used to catch speckled trout during the night. The boys fish a 2-hour shift each night. The fish are kept in baskets in the water so they can stay alive until morning.
24/7 at the lighthouse. Asthmatic too, you guys. They don't believe in medicine.
Spankings and punishment for minor infractions. Sharon says the school, which looks neat and clean on the outside, is really unhealthy, both mentally and physically. Medical care was especially limited and lacked.
So they took my asthma pumps and everything away from me. I'm from Illinois, and I get that hot Texas heat. There were times I literally thought I was going to die. I would wake up and think, man, is this the day I'm going to die? Give me a little paper cup of vinegar. I'd have to drink this vinegar, and then give me a brown paper sack, and I'll be in there, thinking, this ain't going to save me, because I know what asthmatic is, but they never, at all.
Did they give you any like clothes and stuff like that? Like
we had uniforms.
Okay.
We had uniforms. Yes,
and what did they look like?
We had a red skirt and a blue skirt, and a white shirt, a red white checkered shirt, a red and white, blue and white checkered shirt, and a multicolored shirt, and a red tie and a blue tie. We had to wear these little ties all the time. We had to put them on our neck and fold them. I got my school picture, so we had to wear these ties. Now Saturday we got to wear a blue jean skirt or culottes. And Saturday we got put on the blacktop inside the fence. The dorm was here and the school was here, the cafeteria. Then there was a fence with the barbed wire, and there was a blacktop. And so we sat out there all day Saturday in the heat. We didn't get nothing to drink. Even when we worked in the fields, we didn't get nothing to drink. And the Texas heat, man, that was hot. We never got nothing to drink. Sunday we dressed. Now, I was in Florida State. I didn't have much, but the other girls that left to pass down stuff and dresses and stuff. Sunday we got dressed for church, but we couldn't eat because we got dressed on church Sunday morning and Sunday night. So there was no eating on Sundays. But after church they would pull in a semi, and it was all the fruit you can eat. If there was oranges, you could eat all the fruit. Grapefruits, all the fruit. Watermelons. Well, I got to where I could eat 3 watermelons. I ain't kidding you. I was hungry. As a kid. Yeah. And they were good. But then you can't pee in church. Can't get up and pee. So you learn not to do that very quick. Not to, fill your bladder for church. Because you couldn't go to the bathroom and then you peed on yourself. If you urinated on yourself, you got in trouble. Some girls, you just couldn't hold it. So I learned not to do that. But I think the worst thing was when you couldn't eat your food and you had I'll never forget, it was carrots with raisins. You ever go to a buffet and they got that salad with carrots and raisins, like mayonnaise, that white stuff in a buffet salad? That was my first meal. You got 1 scoop. I'm thinking, okay, where's the food? That's what you got, that 1 scoop. But anyway, if you can't eat it and you regurgitate it up, you have to eat your regurgitation. They force feed you to eat your vomit. And that was rough for me. I got to the point where I could hold it down. I tried, before they fed it back to me, I tried to just swallow it back, but sometimes you couldn't. And that was hard on a lot of girls too.
So when you got to the Rebekah home, how long was it before you started to experience the abuse?
First got there, Granny and Papa, they were just retiring. And we got there when I got there as Mr. and Mrs. Manus. You never hear nobody talk about that in the history. They're like, they never existed. But Mr. and Mrs. Manus was there. And that's the only Christmas I ever had. 1976, they gave us Christmas behind the old cafeteria. We got 3 presents. They got 2 rows of yarn and a crochet needle. We all learned how to crochet. But that's the only Christmas I ever got as a child. But they were there 3 months. And it was going pretty good, I thought, at that time. I mean, it was very strict, don't get me wrong. And, and you got your punishments, your demerits, and you got, each demerit you got a lick. But it wasn't that bad. Then we got called downstairs one day, and we all got to, the front living room, and we met our new dorm parents, Mr. and Mrs. Cameron. And did things change? They changed so much. But a lot of people were abused by Mrs. Cameron. And I'll have to admit, and I say this all the time, Mrs. Cameron never hit me. I don't even remember speaking to Mrs. Cameron, but she hurt a lot of my friends very badly. But Mr. Cameron hated me. And so I had Mr. Cameron. And, as a grown man, I was 13 years old with that thin polyester skirt on. And when he gave me those swats, we called it hamburger butt. Black, blue, and bloody. And sometimes your skirt would dry. It was slip, but sorry. Your slip would dry to the skirt too. But then you got to rip it off, and that hurts. So I was so tiny, I could see the shower hurt, the bathtub hurt. So I would fold up and dip my butt in the toilet because it was ice cold, the little toilet water. Right. And I would just scrunch it up in there and try to stop it from stinging a lot. They're very, very horrific abuse. A lot of times we were cuffed. They didn't like us moving around. If we did something wrong, we were cuffed to drain pipes. You stay there till they let you go. Lay there a week. You lay there 2 weeks. And you lay in your own feces until they figured out it's time to go. Or you can put an isolation room. That's a little room, and you have Lester Roloff lights on, and you get a half a peanut butter sandwich and a cup of water a day. And Lester Roloff flares up to the speaker 24/7 and never shuts off until you're released. And I was only in there once, and that's when I tried to commit suicide. I broke. I just broke at one point, and that's where I ended up, was in the isolation room.
So what led up to that, the isolation room? Was there like an incident that happened, or did you just like not do a chore or something?
No, I don't. I just think that mentally I broke. It's just like, I wish I brought my Bible out here. I would read, because I got my Rebekah Bible still, and I had it packed away, and I opened it up about a year ago, and I wrote something in it, and it stunned me. I was begging God to let me die. I mean, what 13-year-old child writes in her Bible begging God just to let me die? So I just think I was just emotionally broke.
Yeah. Question. Because Lester Roloff is known for going around to churches and getting all this support. Did any of these church people visit or anything like that? Or was it just closed-minded staff? Or it's like, no, all these church people knew and they didn't do anything about it. So I'm just curious, with Lester Roloff and how big his enterprise and all of that has taken place, did anybody come visit these homes, or was it...
All the time. Jack Hiles was there. I know Brother Jack very well. Jack Hiles.
Wonderful happening in America that the average citizen knows nothing about. And that's something wonderful, is not being shown to the press, the television cameras. But there's a great move of God going on in this country that most people know little or nothing about.
Yes.
Bill Rice, all of them. David Gibbs Jr., all of the ILP. They had them little planes. See, and they flew around and helped, each other places. All the time. We had lots of guests.
Here today. Roloff, it's good to have you come and take over. Thank you, Brother Johnny. My theme for today and this year is I'm not through.
A politician. Everybody wants to yell church and state. All I knew as a child was politicians and evangelicals. I never seen church and state because they were so embedded. We flipped Texas, matter of fact, 1978, from Democrat to Republican for the very first time. And I got the article too, they gave Lester Roloff the credit. He won Governor Hill. Governor Clements won over Governor Hill.
But Texas Governor Bill Clements stood firm and ordered them not to break through any human barricades, nor were they allowed to enter the church where the girls were. The girls were safe as long as they were in the church.
Governor Hill is the only person that ever tried to save us. I mean, that man tried to help us, and I will admit that. Governor Clements, he said he supported Roloff. I don't know if you know who Donald Howard is. He made ACE schooling. ACE schooling was created for us, Rebekah girls, and it was created in 1970. 1972, Rebekah girls were in the promotional video, and that's how ACE schooling became.
The Bible tells us that without discipline, a child cannot learn, without a disciplined classroom. And then also our school is biblically based. All of our subjects are taught with the idea that God has a plan for every person, and whether it's English or history or social studies or science, since God is the God of all, then it's all based on the foundation of the Bible. Our school is an ACE school, Accelerated Christian Education, whose headquarters...
1985, Jerry Falwell made him step down because he divorced his wife. And now his wife and Jerry Falwell and David Gibbs Jr. took over ACE schooling.
So what was your schooling like, Rebekah Home? How was that like did you guys have a set schedule or actually school at this place?
We had, but see, now this is the trick to the whole thing, because we didn't have spelling, science, social study. We didn't have normal schooling. We took home ec, cooking, sewing. We were trained to be a good Christian wife. We had
this group in school. Girls are taught special courses to help them be good wives and mothers. It is a joy to know that when they graduate from our schools, they will be able to sew, to cook, and to keep house. All our schools are fully accredited by the American Association of Christian Schools.
Typing. We went to charm school. But we did our paces too. Don't get me wrong. We had, AC school, the little cubby holes, and we did our paces, And I didn't have it because I was a foster kid and I was moved so much. I was so far behind in school. I got almost caught up. I'm like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw myself into school. I'm going to get me an education. I'm still going to make something of my life, right? It wasn't worth the paper it was written on. I had to get out and take a GED, no state credit at all. So I have no school records. Still today, I have no school records. I never went to school.
Were you there till you were 18, or how long were you?
I was there till the Christian Alamo. He was one of the first kids that left, though. I just got licks. See, if you get demerits, you get licks. Every lick demerit you get licks. So then you get the rules if you break the rules. Well, I'm a nail biter, and that's number 4 rule, no nail biting. So that's 20 licks every week. So I got 20 licks plus my my demerits, plus the rules I broke. And everybody says, oh, you think, sometimes you got 40, 50 licks. And this is a grown man giving you licks. So I was, I don't know why I got Mr. Camp. I think it's because he didn't like my nails or something. I don't know what it was about him. But, so every week I got them, so my butt wasn't healed from the time before. So it was just, get bruised more and more, So I think I was one of the first kids. I think my butt saved me. I think, it's like, you got to get her out of here because, her butt can do a lot of damage. My injuries probably done a lot of damage to them. So I was one of the first kids on the first shipment to leave. Actually, I didn't talk to nobody, my family, for 3.5 years. No phone calls or nothing. Nobody, my mom and them didn't call. And when I got home, my grandma said, Barbara Ann, I said, Grandma, because I love my grandma. Why didn't you call? Why didn't you come get me? And she said, I called all the time. But they told me that you were okay and only your mother could call you and talk to you. I wasn't your mother, and they would never let my grandma talk to me.
Wow.
So I didn't talk to no family for 3.5 years. And one night I got woke up. They're like, you got a phone call. I got a phone call. I was so excited, get to the office. There's my grandma. She said, Barbara Ann, you want to come home? Oh, Grandma, I want to come home, So I was on a plane and I was there, like that.
So you left after the Christian Alamo?
Right at the beginning of it. Right
Okay.
at the first day. We was just getting ready to go into the church. Governor Clements said if we was in the church, we couldn't be removed. So 5 days, the girls stayed in the church. The first day I was gone, but they stayed a total of 5 days. in the church.
Explain, so like what was the ages in Rebekah Home? Because I know there's other homes, and there's obviously that, Lester Roloff had too. Was it like this home was for these ages, and then once you're hit that age, then you move to that home, or how did he operate on
Rebekah was from, I would say, our youngest Rebekah girl was 9 years old. Tied her to a cross, and they carried her around because they said they were crucifying Lester Roloff. So they carried her around tied to this cross. Our youngest Rebekah girl was 9, and they stayed until they were, well, you can stay until you're 17. At 17, you got a choice. Now you can get married and move to the farm. Now the farm had the anchor home on it. They moved the lighthouse to it. You had the anchor, the lighthouse, Rebekah, Trailer Row. Trailer Row was these old raggedy trailers that the farm helpers lived in. Then you had Jubilee next door. Now, at 17, you choose to get married and go to Trailer Row. The whole key is now you got to remember, there's no meeting of the eyes. You can't look left at the boys. If you look left, meeting of the eyes, that's a punishment, a severe punishment. So you make sure when you were in church, you never turn your head left. So there's no meeting of the eyes. You never see these boys. But Lester Roloff can pick you out, a lighthouse boy, and you meet him at his house, and you date for about 3 months, and you get married, and you can go to Trailer Row. If not, you don't get to leave at 18. That's a myth. Everybody says, oh, you get to walk out the door at 18. That was a myth. At 18, you get transferred next door to Jubilee.
This is the Jubilee Home for ladies, 18 and above.
And Jubilee, stay there till you're 21. Then you can leave. And you're still locked in, still treated the same. There is no difference. Still get licks. And there's Phil Donahue, the talk show Phil Donahue, and Lester Roloff is on YouTube. You can hear Lester Roloff say it all to himself. You can hear it come right out of his own mouth. He even admits about, I placed over 100 babies on there.
Roloff Enterprises. You have how many homes in the South? Huh? Well, in Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, and we're fixing to start one in Mississippi. What do? Take care of boys, girls, men, women, alcoholics, narcotic addicts. These girls over here that they'll see a little bit have all been in trouble. And we have girls. What kind of trouble? Oh, dope. I'd say dope is one of the primary problems that we've found the answer for. And we have some of the girls that will be ready to answer the questions if they want to ask. And then girls that are pregnant. We've had about 100 babies. Like this, the head of our home is here. She just brought her little bundle of life up here last night. And
at that time, he's already sold that. And he was still, Granny and Papa were still there. That's still in the early days. And he's already placed over 100 babies.
And there, you shared that there was a legal adoption happening. I have some questions about that. Who was pregnating the women? How old were they? And is there any document, there's no documents of these children, but where were they getting sent to?
This is a good part to tell how Rebekah started. Lester Roloff had a small church in town in Corpus Christi. And one of the people, persons in his church, came to him and said they had a family member that was 15 years old and pregnant. And none of the family want nothing to do with it, and can anybody help? Lester Roloff got up and asked, can anybody help this child? Granny and Papa Weatherford stood up and said, I'll take her in. They took this 15-year-old pregnant, took him to her house. Then they made Trailer Row. Then they built Rebekah. The first Rebekah girl was a pregnant girl at 15 years old, and that started this whole thing. Except you do not get to keep your child. They didn't teach you to be a mother or raise your child. They said they needed to go to a good Christian home. So they were illegal adoptions. They were through the Independent Fundamental Baptist, only could adopt these children. They went through Jack Hyles University, Tennessee Temple, and Bob Jones University. These 3 universities helped place these babies. Now, the babies that we have found, I called Tyler Kincaid, NBC News. And I tried to get our story out there. He didn't reply. I called again, and he didn't reply. Well, the 3rd time, I'm like, okay, what about stolen babies? What about all the babies he called. So it's stolennbc.com. My friend Nancy, her daughter found her through 23andMe 42 years later.
I know you're not supposed to hate anyone, but I hate what he done to me.
When Nancy Womack was 16, she lived at an orphanage in Dalton, Georgia. Nancy fell in love, but when the orphanage director learned Nancy was pregnant, he made a decision that would haunt her for the next 40 years.
He said, this is what's going to happen. You're not shaming the children's home, and we're going to take care of this.
At 3 months pregnant, the director sent Nancy away to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and the Bethesda Home for Girls.
And it was a long dirt road from the main road down to Bethesda. At the time, I thought it was the longest dirt road in the world. And then it opens up to this long white building. It was like a nightmare.
Bethesda Home for Girls advertised itself as a place where troubled kids would learn discipline through the Word of God. According to Nancy and other women who lived there when they were young, days at Bethesda started early and consisted of praying, cleaning, and listening to the preaching of national evangelist and founder of the home, Lester Roloff.
Wow.
And so my bathroom mate came up pregnant, and they put her in lockup. You come up pregnant, you go to lockup. Then you get sent down.
How do you, who was impregnating these girls?
I see. I mean, some came in pregnant. Don't get me wrong. And a lot of them came in pregnant by people, probably some people by the church. There was a lot of preachers and pastors involved in that, or family members, 13, 14 years old. I didn't even have consensual sex yet, what sex I had was during my stepfather in a rape, I never had sex. I didn't even have a boyfriend. Most of us didn't even have boyfriends. So, but then they usually, when they go to Mississippi to give the baby away, they don't never come back. Well, Guppy came back, and I was asthmatic, and there was a little cement hallway we could sit outside. And I was sitting there because I could breathe a little better. And she was just crying and crying. I looked at her, and you can't talk now. You can't talk to each other, either. You can't communicate with each other. You can't know the last name. You can't do this and do that. And she just looked at me. She said, "They took my baby." She said, "They took my baby." Yeah, and my baby. She says, "I love my baby." And 2 days later, she was gone. I never found her or the baby. So I started collecting all the babies that were, I was adopted through, Roloff Home. And so I was collecting all the babies. I was collecting all the mothers for years. And I tried to match the date, the birth date and stuff, trying to connect these babies for a long time. And the first baby that found us, she probably thought I was crazy. She found us. I didn't find, she came to us. And oh my God, I'm like, you're a real baby? I'm not crazy, because I thought maybe I was crazy, because everybody kept saying, no, this didn't happen, and you're making up lies, you're an attention seeker, you're a liar. And I know what I've seen or heard. So I'm like, oh my God, you're real. It really happened, So she found us, and we found her mother. Her parents were missionaries in Tasmania. Nancy's daughter was missionaries in Africa. Her daughter was taken from Mississippi to Tennessee. Then her baby was given to missionaries, and she was raised in Africa.
Tell us a bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
Okay. So I grew up mostly in Africa, in South Africa. My dad was a missionary. My parents have always told me that I was adopted. They said it was through a Christian adoption agency, and that it had been important for my biological mother that I go into a good Christian home.
Baby was sold at Piggly Wiggly parking lot for $250.
Oh.
There's a lawsuit on that. Southern Law Property lawsuit. There is a lawsuit on that. Another girl went there, counted the money out, handed over the baby. A lot of people started to think, it ain't that we wanted to hurt each other. We didn't want to hurt each other. We didn't want to be hurt either. And sometimes you had to do what you had to do, not to be hurt. And, you live with that guilt. You live with that guilt.
Have a pattern of, the girls or the boys or even, both genders having to do stuff to each other. Now, did you guys have to do things to one another, like, you know, helping with hitting or, you know, licks or whatever you want to call them?
We had we called them hall watchers. They help write the demerits. I mean, and if you got a hall watcher that didn't like you for some reason, they can give you demerits. Each demerit's a lick, you know, or a punishment, depends on what type of, you know, demerit you got and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I call them good girls. I mean, I wasn't a good girl, but you had the good girls, and the good girls, you know, I don't want to say they were brainwashed, but you know, they thought whatever they thought, you know, they would get the other girls hurt. I mean, one girl came out to the field. I mean, she was hurt. I mean, you see bruises all, you know, all in her. And the other girl laughed, and you know, like, yeah, I caused that. I did that, but I didn't get the lick, did I? You know, so, you know, yeah. And we had failing to tell on a sinner, and I got called in the office. I got licks for that. I don't know how many times. You know, failing to tell on a sinner. And I get in there. What am I supposed to? What am I supposed to tell on? I'm supposed to know what my bathroom mate, because there was 3 girls, a bath, Jack and Jill bathroom, and 3 girls, so 6 girls shared a bathroom. So my bathroom mate did something, and I was supposed to tell on her. Some girl I don't even know, and I'm going to get the licks for it because I failed to tell on her. You know, so I got failed to tell on center quite often. Back up and running since 2017. It's back in business. You can look up on Facebook. Roloff Enterprises is back up in business and running.
So we also know that Lester Roloff died in a plane crash.
On November 2nd, 1982, at 8:45 a.m., Brother Roloff got in the plane and flew away. And that's the last time he talked to any of us.
Form was Brother Jack Howes. He likened the death of Brother Roloff to a runner finishing the first part of a relay race.
My best friend died in that accident, Miss Elaine. Me and Miss Elaine was from the same hometown, and she was became Lester Roloff's personal secretary. Miss Elaine died in that crash. Cheryl Palmer, with Cheryl Palmer's mom and dad, opened up Happiness Hills. I did know Cheryl Palmer because she was there when I was there, and Miss Elaine and Lester Roloff. People say, oh, Lester Roloff was never there. Lester Roloff was there all the time. I don't know where people get that. That's a myth, too. I mean, that was his church. He preached every Sunday night, and Wednesday night almost. You know, yes, we had guest speakers, don't get me wrong, and sometimes they flew around and preached at other churches.
Baptist Church, friends, we're standing tonight in royalty. We have tonight, as far as I'm concerned, a man that God's raised up, and a man that I admire and I thank God for. I listen to him, I've listened to his tapes, cry and weep, shout and praise the Lord. Brother Roloff, it's a joy to have you at Piney Heights Baptist Church tonight. Come on.
I wish my wife could have heard that. It would have been nice. Of course, we've been living together so long till we've made up our mind. We got it made now. And we're going right on. But
that was his church. He spoke, even though he only had hostages and not congregation. I mean, it was the Rebekah girls, the farm people, the boys. Then in the back was like the town, we call town people, town kids. And I don't know if you know the Hammer podcast. Jason was a town kid. You know, so yeah, he's got, I think, like 200 of our testimonies now on there. It's called the Hammer podcast. But Jason was considered a town kid, and he went to school with us. He went downstairs, and we went upstairs. The Rebekah girls were downstairs, town kids were downstairs, and farm kids were downstairs. We couldn't mingle with no other kids either. We were always, you know, by ourselves, and we couldn't mingle with each other either. So we were always, you know, isolated. And if you did something wrong and you got put on silence, you could be on silence a day, a week. One girl was on silence for a year. Can you imagine not being able to speak for a year? You could speak, but no grunts. And we were all intercom. Every room had an intercom. There's intercoms everywhere. I mean, and believe me, they listened. Yeah, you know, because I got licked one time because everybody was picking nicknames, and they wanted to name me Miss Peabody. You know, the dog, the scientist dog, Mr. Peabody? Oh, yeah. They want to call me Miss. I didn't want that name, you know. They picked up on it. We was talking about TV, and we all got called in there and got, you know, punished for that because you were no worldly content. no toys, no game. Everything had to be focused on the IFE and the Bible. Everything had to be biblical, no matter what it was. And we had to memorize a chapter a month. A lot of people, oh, you can't, oh, you remember the whole chapter. Girls couldn't, and they would get punished for that. And I could tell the girls that wasn't abused. You know what I mean? You know, all children wasn't abused, but the girls that were not abused, that I feel that came from like maybe a good family, when they started getting abused, you could tell. And I used to sit there and think, man, I wish I could take their beating, because I was used to it. You know, I could take their beating. They wasn't used to them beatings yet. And
now there was an incident that we saw last night when we were doing some research about a stabbing that occurred.
I was
Can
there.
you tell us about that? Like, walk us through. Were you there, like, as a witness?
Oh, I was there.
Okay.
You know, and I told this story, and this lady got on there and told me I was lying, and Misty didn't go stayed at her trailer. No, lady, you're lying. This is the God's honest truth. I got pictures of the original girls. I got my own personal pictures, you know, on top of all this. My friend Angie and Terry, they were my friends. There was 3 other girls involved too, but they were wanted. We went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said they were going to shut us down, right? That we was going to be safe. They were going to come and remove us. About a year went by. Nobody came. We waited every day to be saved. Nobody showed up. Nobody cared. And so they thought Misty came in, you know, and they made a homemade knife. Somebody said it was out of scissors. Other people said it's from the kitchen. I don't know. I don't actually never seen it, so I can't say. They got Misty in the prayer room. They were going to pray with her. Got her in the prayer room, and they stabbed her. They had to do something to bring this attention. And I don't care what anybody says. That's what shut Rebekah down, that stabbing. See, Lester Roloff didn't report it. They didn't take Misty to the hospital with 5 stab wounds. They put her in the office. And I know that for a fact, because I had a whole asthma attack right there with her. Bleeding in the paper bag, drinking my vinegar. You know, her bleeding and patching up her back. You know, they called her mother. Her mother drove from Kansas to Corpus Christi, Texas, and got there, and her daughter was stabbed. They gave her no treatment for that. And Lester Roloff claimed he didn't want to bring no more attention to the home, so he didn't report it. And see, that's what started the big,
right?
You know?
So, the Christian Alamo is a big thing. Like, definitely, if you Google it, it's a huge thing that happened in Texas. Can you explain or give a little bit more information on it? I know that you were there like day 1 or something, but can you explain what that is actually about?
What all these big, you got movie cameras, you know, media, and all these news people there too. You're scared to death. You're 12, 13 years old. You're scared to death anyway. So the state said, we're coming back, and we're going to remove these girls. Lester Roloff says, no. You know, we want to go in and inspect the home. That started off, we're going to go inspect the home, make sure the girls are okay. Absolutely not. You want to let the state in.
Foster that kind of a sinful program on the Church of the Lord Jesus.
As a church agency sponsored by the Baptist General Convention of Texas, we feel that our system is consistent with what they would expect of us, and at no point have we been told that we would violate the license by doing that.
No man can go by the Bible and state rules at the same time. They're poles apart.
Amen. No, they're not poles apart, because the state guidelines do not in any way tell us what we can believe or can't believe as far as the Christian ethic is concerned, as far as the Bible is concerned.
And I know he's listening. If God is right, I'm right. Amen. Amen. If Christ is right.
Not even to walk through to see if we're okay. Absolutely not. So the state came back. They're like, we're going to remove these girls. You know, now we're shutting down the home. And they came to shut us down. Well, when they were going to remove us, Governor Clements, like I said if we were in the church, we couldn't be removed. So we all were moved into the church.
They came at one time during the week within 3 minutes of confrontation with the preachers, but Texas Governor Bill Clements stood firm and ordered them not to break through any human barricades, nor were they allowed to enter the church where the girls were.
From the dorm to the church. Mexicans came from all over the United States. They made a human chain around her 2 times. You know, holding the Bible, Texas flag, Christian flag, got the Bible, and then locked arms, you know, and for nobody can break through to get to us. Alamo. Lester Roloff went and made one more plea, you know, to the Supreme Court. They denied him. But everybody thinks, oh, that's the end, right? You guys were removed. Everybody's safe. It didn't work like that either. The night before, brother, the reason you don't see in, I think it is They Stood, the film, you don't see Brother Cameron in that film nowhere. You see Mrs. Cameron, you see everybody but Brother Cameron. That's because he already loaded up the good girls, his pigs, on a bus. They already headed out the night before. They were taken to New Bethany Home in Louisiana. And if you know anything about New Bethany Home, that's New Bethany, I say, is worse than us. I rate us as the third worst. Bethel was worse, then New Bethany, then Rebekah. See, because we were paraded around. We were called the Crown Jewels. We were his money makers. So, you know, the New Bethany girls had it very rough. Their owner was a great risk, you know, almost every one of them got hurt there. And so he took the girls to New Bethany, the bus load. And then they traveled around for a little bit. Some were sent to Bethesda, Mississippi. I was sent back to Illinois. I was awarded a state. I never talked to a caseworker. I was put on the street at 16. So now I'm homeless on the street at 16 years old. My uncle came and got me. Then they denied him custody, and my aunt and uncle custody. They denied my grandma. So they brother put me on the street, I guess. They're not being a good loving home. But I ended up getting emancipated at 16. I became a legal adult at 16. And I went to court and sued for my emancipation. I mean, if not, I would die. I don't think I could have made it another 2 years in the system. And so a lot of parents came and was removing the girls. They come and get their children at that time too. You know, just didn't want their children in there. And
girls at the home vowed to stay and wait, all knowing that their hours under Lester Roloff may be winding down. But few.
You know, getting out and, you know, being on your own at 16, how has been your life since, you know, getting out of Lester Roloff?
I suffer from PTSD, severe PTSD. I got social anxiety. I barely ever leave my house. It's real hard for me to even go around people. I'm just now being able to talk to people. So used to not talking, it took me a long time to be able to even talk to people. And I have severe night terrors. I still go to counseling. 40 years later, I'm still in counseling. I take medicine for my night terrors. I don't take too much man-made medicines, but I do take them for the night terrors because you know, I've heard so many times people say, oh, you're an attention seeker. You want the 15 minutes of fame. You know, you're a bad kid, a liar. They don't realize that every time I get up here and talk about this stuff, I'm probably in bed a week. It takes me a while to pull myself back out the dark. I can fix everybody but myself. I mean, I'll stay up all night, sometimes don't sleep, taking calls for other survivors, you know, help them through and talk them through all this stuff. But I can't fix myself for some reason. I mean, and the damage lasted my whole adulthood. I can't have relationships, you know, I don't trust, I can't. I mean, I've been married 3 times, I tried. 3 strikes, I'm out. And I just tried to date somebody, it's a whole fiasco. I mean, I can't. I mean, it's run my whole life. Love for God, too, in my church, because I seen so much evil, I would never go into a church ever again. But it was hard.
Yeah, and also for the listeners to know, but you also have been with Paris Hilton and other people too to help the troubled teen industry for these houses to end. That, you know, they still are existing today. Like, they are legit existing in 2024, and this has been happening for, I mean, past decades. And so
there's probably 3 or 4 in every state. ILP homes.
Yeah.
Every state still today. Now, the reason I go with Paris Hilton and troubled teen is because I was awarded a state. See, now, like the mental hospitals, the state homes, the group homes, that's the trouble in the troubled teen industry. Roloff, the ILP homes, they're under religious exemption, under church and state loophole. That's why we can't get them closed. We got to fight the church and state law again. Now, yes, we passed HB 556, HB 557 in Missouri. They're weak laws. And we asked for simple oversight, background check. We got sued for that. We got sued for them laws. Another religious exemption home came back and sued us, which got settled out of court. And Paris Hilton's law is a federal law, but still, it's not going to cover IFE homes.
Yeah.
It's under church and state. These homes are filed. There's nothing we can do until we fight the church and state law to shut these down. People say that ain't true. That ain't true. You're gonna have to prove it to me. You're gonna have to prove it to me because there's a religious loophole. That's why they couldn't go into Circle of Hope for so long. Agape, 3.5 years. Look what the mess in Agape. Yeah, I mean, there's many of these homes they can't go into because they can't touch them. So that's like going into a church and raiding a church. It don't happen. A church, there should not be a religious exemption for child abuse or no abuse at all. And they got a religious exemption for this abuse. And independent fundamental Baptists, they believe in corporal punishment. That's their belief. They believe that spare the rod, spoil the child. And if anybody Googles and looks that up, you'll see many stories of children being hurt for it. Not to be told they're worthless, more worthless, a piece of crap. Nobody wants you. And that's what they do. They just tear you down. Now,
you know, to kind of end this episode, if, you know, you have, like, I have tons of people I know personally that are still in the IFB, right? They don't even realize the history part of the IFB, right? They just think like, I'm in an independent Baptist church. We don't belong, but people don't realize, because I was one of those, until you get out and then you put two together and it's like, holy cow, this is a whole empire, you know, like this is a cult. Like, people can argue with me day in and day out. They're like, oh my gosh, like, it's so funny when you say cult, but when you get told what to do, how to eat, or how to pray, or whatever, you know, some of them are so extreme and some of them are mild, like, and that's fair, but when you say that you are an independent fundamental Baptist, you are putting yourself in the IFB and you don't even realize it. So I think,
you know how the IFB started? You know
I've heard bits and pieces, but
I can tell you exactly how it started. It all started over Billy Graham, and then I swear to God it did. You got to remember, I'm way older than you. Billy Graham made everybody mad when he was more going liberal. You know, Billy Graham, he's a neo-evangelical. There's 3 types of evangelical. There's fundamentalists, there's a neo-evangelist, and there's modernism. So we're fundamentalists. Our type of ILP, we're called fundamentalists. Now, Billy Graham was more of a neo-evangelical, and they got mad at Billy Graham, so they broke off of the Southern Baptists. John R. Rice, Lester Roloff, Jack Hyles, Oliver Green, and there's one more. Can't think. God. Anyway, they're called the 5 Heads.
I've always heard, like, you know, Jack Hyles is the founder, or this person's the founder. I personally,
Jack Hyles is one of the founders.
Yes, to say like he was like the only one. No, there's multiple, and a lot of people.
There's 5 main ones.
Yeah, and a lot of people like will look also at the Duggars, right? And that's IBLP. Bill Gothard is his own person, and then it's like everybody. But the IFB, that's what makes it different. Is because there's multiple headers, and then it's this church and this church and this church.
The reason they did independent fundamental Baptists is because they thought they would get out of these lawsuits, which have been working. A lot of it has worked, and because because they're independent, so you can't sue like the Southern Baptist Convention gets sued with all these things today, which they really went through yet because they're under the Southern Baptist. Well, we can't file a lawsuit on that. We all tried, because we're not Southern Baptist. We're ILP. Even though we broke off from the Southern Baptist, we're not allowed in that lawsuit. So the independent fundamental, you got to go to like me, my main preacher, and stuff, or Lester. I try to go back on Roloff Enterprises when it opened in 2017. I'm like, I got them, right? I got them this time because they reopened. No, because of new owners. Still can't bring them down. So, but really, who broke off is John R. Rice. He's the main founder. Then Jack Hyles and Lester Roloff and all the other guys followed with them. I did the Sword of the Lord newspaper, the Independent Fundamental Baptist newspaper.
Which is very much around. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize that they are in a cult. And I think it takes also one of those things where you have to actually, like, I always say, physically take the blinders off and be like, okay, I'm hearing this. You know, I've had people reach out to me that have known me my whole life but never said one word to me. You know, we just went to the same church, and they're like, I didn't realize the history aspect of it. Like, I thought we were just independent, like we don't belong to no association. And I'm like, and so did I. But when you look into it, it's everybody is tied in with somebody.
And back in my day, in the 70s, they were really, you know, everybody said, well, they're not a tight community. Oh, no, they were very, very tight community. They all had them little airplanes, like I said. We all had tent revivals. We drove from different states, you know, the main people. We were very tight community, you know, the IFB was back then.
So what would you say to somebody who's listening to this and they're, you know, they're figuring out, they're probably in their, you know, beginning stages of reconstructing and trying to figure out, you know, what is the IFB, right? What would you say about these, like, if somebody is listening and you are like, hey, look, I went to this home, you know, this place is still happening. What would you say to these people that are listening about these homes?
You know, a lot of the children that Rebekah girls were sent there by the IFB parents. A lot of them were in there for listening to the devil's music. A lot of them were in there wanting to wear jeans or makeup. You know, you think if you got someone telling you to send your child off for a year, sometimes I say 3.5 years. Some of the kids say 4, 5, 6 years to send your child off and be raised by someone else. Stop and think about that. That's your child. Raise your child. It's your responsibility, not somebody else's responsibility. You don't know these people because these people said they were good people. I mean, look, they praise still today the greatest man of God, Lester Roloff. He was a human trafficker. He sold children. You know, he trafficked us to very high, powerful people.
Yeah.
You know, these aren't good people. You don't know who's going to raise your child. So if you're believing something that someone else is telling you, you're not even believing your own beliefs. You're believing somebody else's beliefs. If that ain't a cult, what is? I mean, there's not even your own belief. Somebody else is telling you what to believe, how to dress, what to wear, what to say, how to act. You know, no tattoos, no piercing, this, that. You know, who's got a right to tell another grown person what to do? I mean, that don't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know how he wasn't ruled a cult, especially Lester Roloff. You know, how wasn't he not ruled a cult? You know, but I don't know how the IFB has never been ruled a cult legally, because that is exactly what it is.
In the beginning of our interview with you, you mentioned that the first time you spoke up and you went to your pastor that was a mistake. Tell us a little bit about what happened when you told the pastor, and also after you answered that question, could you also, if there are any pastors listening, what advice would you give them?
You know, when I was little, my abuse sexually started about 8 years old. I laid in the front seat of a car, so I'm guessing around 8 or 9. You know, I didn't know it was wrong. I just, you know, you figured it happens, you figure it's normal. You know, I didn't know it was wrong probably till then, closer to 11 years old. I know I didn't like it. I know it hurt me, you know, but I didn't know it was wrong. When I realized it was wrong and I didn't want it to happen again, I went to my pastor and I asked for help. And I was told I shouldn't act the way I act. That I caused it. And for a long time I thought I caused it. You know? Then when I went to Rebekah, Mr. Cameron, when I was 13, he asked me why I didn't write letters, because you had to write a letter home twice a week. One time for sure, but you're supposed to write twice a week. And he asked me why I didn't write letters. So stupid me again tells, you know, what happened. I had to write a letter to my stepfather and tell him I was sorry. I got licks for 3 months, so I couldn't take it no more. And I wrote the letter. I wrote that letter. And I told him I was sorry for how I looked. I was sorry for the way I acted. I was sorry the way I dressed. And I was sorry that I caused them a sin. I was 8 years old.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
You know, and if any pastor does listen, if they are listening, when is the men going to take responsibility for what they do? When is the men going to step up what they do to women and children, especially children? How do you think it's okay for a man to hurt a child? To hurt a child so bad? I'm 60 years old. I can't pull my life together over this, you know, because I still feel like I'm worthless. I still feel like everything's my fault. I caused it. I'm just a big mess up, you know, over this. No matter how strong people think I am, I'm broken inside. Yes, I get out here and I'll fight for these legislations. I get out here and tell my story, but I'm broken inside. You know, I still can't pull my life together. And I just wanted to be a normal person, a normal kid. I never got no toys, no bikes. I don't know if you guys got to that at the ILP. You know, we didn't get that. So I never had a doll, a Barbie, you know, nothing like that. It just be a roller skating or movies. You know, we didn't get that. And, you know, let a child be a child. Let your child grow and experience life. You might not agree with your child. I didn't agree with my child. My two girls drove me crazy. But by God, I ain't sending them off. I never spanked them or beat them. You know what I mean? And we butted heads many times. They were my child. They were mine. You know? And for somebody to say that child's a bad child, let's put them in one of these homes. Don't listen to that. Because a lot of people don't understand. They profit off this. This is $1 billion industry. $38 billion of taxpayer money goes to this industry every year. The church and state law. Everybody don't want to yell about that. But all these churches and stuff, if they do any type of community service, gets federal grants since W. George Bush. Every president since then have backed these. Jerry Falwell just got one, you know, Liberty University just got like $1.some million grant. Look how much money they got. They get all this money, and you know, and you want to send your child there, and your child goes hungry. And you know, they might tell you that your child's in good hands, but if you listen to any survivor story, you're going to get a different picture of it. Your child will be hungry. Your child is going to be corporal punishment severely, not just a little corporal punishment like you do at home with the belt or the licks. I mean, this is severe corporal punishment. We were ruled against the Geneva Convention, tortured by government officials, by Supreme Court. That's the type of abuse you go through in these homes. You know, I mean, raise your child, love your child. You know, love will get you so much further in life with your children and being their friend than abuse and being so strict that you push your child away. Because you're gonna push your child away, and then they're gonna rebel. You know, just love them. Let them be them.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate so much that you joined us on.
I'm sorry I got so emotional. I'm trying not to, you guys.
No, oh my gosh, do not apologize at all. I think that, again, it goes back to people appreciate raw emotions. People appreciate, we appreciate not only you coming on here, reliving these, and talking about these things. I cannot even imagine, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, like it goes back so deep, it's not just, it's not just no pants, and people, and also it does depend also on your parents too, how much they really are drinking the Kool-Aid is like what I say. And so I think that it goes back to that, and also just people realizing like now, like that's not okay, and so we appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and experience.
And I would like to say something.
Yes.
If anybody's in the Independent Fundamental Baptist and you're an adoptee and you don't know where you're from or you don't know your biological parent, please do a 23andMe, because there's so many mothers out there looking for you, because our babies were not given away. They were taken from us. They were stolen from us. So, please do a 23andMe if you were adopted through the ILP. And, we got a database going. We're trying to, relocate some of these mothers. One of my best friends, she got sent there at 12, and she was from the church. She had her baby at 12. And She's looked all these years, and she's still looking. Many women have never gave up trying to find their baby.
Yeah.
So,
Barbara, where can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you on social media or learn more about your story? I know you had mentioned you have some social media.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I ain't that good, but I'm trying.
Hey, you're good. You're good on TikTok. I looked you up. I was like, she's the real deal. Yeah.
You know, that's because my grandson taught me into TikTok a few years ago. I'm like, what's TikTok? But I learned how to express myself. And, you know, it used to take me 3 hours to make a 15-second video. I had the right music to write, you know, but I could start expressing my emotions to take my own videos. And I got to start telling my story that I could never speak out, you know, doing. But I do got TikTok. It's Barbara Foreman 05. It's a trigger warnings. I got it right on my thing. Trigger warnings, right, you know, Roloff survivor. And I started a YouTube channel, but it ain't. I'm trying. It's Barbara Ann. It's got a little church burning, but you know, I'm trying. You know, it's got a lot of different. I learned TikTok, but YouTube's a little hard for me. I'm trying to get that. I started a Reddit page, Roloff Survivors, but that's really hard for me, Reddit. You know, but I'm trying. And I did have a movie producer from Sundance reach out to me on there, so. You know, on my 31 followers, but you know,
hey, you know what? What's funny is even on I have to get used to saying our Instagram now, for the podcast page, people are like, oh, you only have 200 followers. I might have 200 followers on there, but my data for the episodes are saying thousands. It's because people don't want to be like, oh, that person follows. So I always call them my secret followers. So.
Yeah. And it's still going today.
Yes. Well, we appreciate you again. And I have a feeling that we probably will reach out again in the future to have you on maybe for other episodes or who knows what else we'll cover with Lester Roloff. But we appreciate your time. And
maybe we can get some different homes, you know, like different survivors from different homes and, you know, compare, like, see how they.
Well, stay tuned because we will be touching more bases on different homes and stuff throughout the season. So, we're looking forward to doing that and sitting down with more survivors and bringing awareness. But thank you so much, Barbara.